Welcome everyone to Studio Talent Collective, the podcast. This is episode 198, but you may have noticed that the title of the show has changed. So last week on episode 197, I did an episode called The Big Announcement, which was that I was getting more aligned with my brand and the message I'm putting out into the stratosphere and to my audience here as well. So we were called Studio Biz and all that jazz for the last, 100 episodes or so. And now we've changed the name. So now we're Studio Talent Collective, the podcast. But nothing else has changed, guys. And I'm so excited that you've joined us here today. And to kick off our brand new titled show, I would like to introduce to you a couple of studio owners who are a mother and daughter duo. Now, Dionne Bailey is the role of mum and Brittany Williams, the role of daughter, who have come together to create a business called Triple T Dance in Minto, New South Wales. Now, Dionne and Brittany are wonderful humans, but, a family dynamic is always interesting when running a studio business or any business for that matter. So I wanted to tap into that and find out more. And I love these ladies. I've been working with them for quite some time now. They are actually part of our mentorship program inside of our talent agency, Studio Talent Collective, where their students are represented under our agency umbrella. So I wanted to bring them into the fold and bring them onto the show, not only to talk about, talent management and that new installation into their studio biz, but really to find out what it's like working with mum or working with your kid inside of a business, because I reckon that could get a little bit interesting, but you're about to find out. So without further ado, the new show title, Studio Talent Collective, the podcast, is about to kick off, and I want to thank you for being here. Check out my new intro. Here we go. I'm Josephine Lancuba, and welcome to Studio Talent Collective, the podcast for dance and performing arts studio owners. Here we share industry insights, inspiring stories, and real talk to help you build a thriving studio and in-house talent agency. As a performing arts business coach and talent agent, I'm all about dreaming big and growing together as a community. You're in the right place. Let's leap in. Hello, ladies. Welcome to Studio Biz and all that jazz. We've got the lovely Brittany and Dionne here from Triple T Dance. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us on the pod.
Yay. Now, it's interesting because we came into each other's world through, Studio Talent Collective, the agency world, but we're going to start from the very beginning because I think it's really important to mention that you guys are a mum and daughter duo.
We are indeed, yep.
And you run a studio together in Sydney. So we want to talk about that. And I think this is a really interesting one, especially because when we talk about, legacy and we talk about family business and all these sorts of things, there's actually a lot of studios that operate in this way. A lot of studios work with families. So let's go to the very beginning. Now, let's start with you, Dionne. Did you actually have a dance background, or was it more you, Brittany?
I am not a dancer by trade. No, I'm a dance mum of 30 plus years, and it progressed into that. I rode horses competitively and played sports, so that was my my background.
And then what about you, Brittany? You were the dancer then?
Yes, I'm the firstborn daughter, and I was the very big surprise when I could dance before I could walk, I think, and that's where it all kind of started.
So who then, you were a dance mum, okay? That must have been had its challenges in itself. Was there was it competition as well? Was it that sort of a dance mum?
Yeah, so Britt, from a really young age, showed potential when she was little. Dance teachers gave me a letter to say, we've seen some talent in your child and we think she'd benefit from solos. And I freaked because I didn't have that background. So then I went to people that I knew did and asked them, and they said, don't do it. This is the reason why, So then I thought, I'm going to speak.
What was the reason, actually? What was the reason why?
they said you've got to take these massive props to competitions and you'll be doing dancing every weekend and yada yada yada. So I went to the dance teachers and I said, look, these are my concerns. This is what I've been told. I said, I'm not a dancer, so I have no idea. And being competitive in horse riding, I was out every week, like prior to having children, I was out showing horses every week. And so that side of things didn't really scare me that much, but it was more like thinking I'm going to have to hire trailers and take all these, like massive props and everything like that. And they said, don't even worry about that. We don't do it. And yeah, and then she went into competitive dancing at 4. So yeah.
Wow. So you were a competitive dancer at 4. What was that like starting so young?
I mean, I think it set me up as a really great adult, taught me a lot about commitment and hard work and work ethic. So I do think that we thank my mom and my dance teachers at that young age that they did see potential, because I think, yeah, that set me on the right track to do what I am doing today. So
And tell us, what are you doing today, ladies? So that would be a great thing to bring in. Now, you obviously have a studio, but tell us about that. How did the studio come about? Whose idea was it? Where did it all begin?
Do you want me to start, Britt, or did you want to start?
I can start because I was a dance teacher for since I was like 13. I was assisting, so very young assistant, and then took my own classes when I was about 15, like at the local studio that I was dancing at. And I think I did that for many years, and then I kind of got to the point where I thought, I think I could do this and I would love to do it and have, my own ethics and morals and be able to do my own thing. And so, yeah, I think I was 20 at the time and I just went to my parents like, this is my idea. And it just so happened to work out time-wise in their life as well to be able to help out. So I'll let mum take over from there.
Was it always a partnership, or did it start with just yourself?
It was a partnership, but initially I was the silent partner. So yeah, Britt came to us and she said, like, I would like to have a bit more creative license, and this is how I would like to run the studio. And my husband at the time was retrenched, and we were actually looking at starting a business of some description. That was, what we were going to do with his payout. And what better industry that we kind of already knew, as opposed to, getting a coffee van or something like that. So initially Britt was a sole trader, and I worked on the desk. And then I think in 2019, we thought it was better just to start it as a company, and then we both be directors, and we both are, equal partners in the sense of the legalities of it. We're always
Yeah.
equal partners in the sense, but just not on paper.
Now, let's be honest, ladies. What's it like working with family? Because everyone says there's a few rules. They say never work with animals, children, or family.
And we're doing
Yeah.
two of the three.
Yeah.
That's right. You're doing 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
What's that really like? Let's start with you, Brittany, because from a daughter's perspective, with mum around, what does that feel like in the studio space?
I mean, it sounds so cliche to say, right? But like, genuinely, my mum is my best friend. So, I mean, there isn't much we don't see eye to eye on. And we both have very clear visions and goals that always just somehow align with each other, even if it's not like verbally spoken about. So I mean, that is easy, and that, it's good in that sense. But like any mother-daughter relationships, we do have moments in time of frustration and that. But, it's one of those things that we get it out, and then, 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, by the way, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, nothing ever happened. And I'm glad that we both have the same kind of mentality of like, yeah, okay, we're frustrated. We get up, what do we need off our chest? And then that's it. Like it's done, and then we move forward.
What about yourself? How do you feel, Dionne?
Along the same lines, I mean, frustrations can be as little as the differentiating of business partner as to mum speaking to thing. And Britt would feel the same, I'm guessing as well, that she would say something to me and my back would get up because, like, how rude, but like Britt said, we get over it pretty quickly. Sometimes, that storm in a teacup, the staff sort of run for the hills when we are sort of, like have like having a blow up, because I can have a bit of a quick temper, but yeah, it's worked for us so far. So I mean, it's yeah.
How long have you been operating for now?
Since 2013.
Yeah, so quite some time.
Yeah.
How has the studio evolved since you first started? Like from the beginning to now, what's the evolution look like?
Crazy, to be honest. I'll let you take over, Britt.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I started when I was 20. We opened the doors, so very young, very fresh, never run a business before. So, I mean, we did what we thought was the best thing, but we always tried to grow numbers and things like that, but it didn't really feel like a business compared to what it feels like now, I guess. So I guess the turning point for us was probably that 2019 mark when we became partners. That was the real turning point in our business, that it went from like, a second job that we both had, because we both worked two jobs at the time, to, okay, like this is for real now, and we're going to put all of our focus and heart and soul and energy into this and really try and build it. And that was really the turning point. Now it is much more professional, I'd like to say, more than like, family run small business. But yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's really interesting, actually. When you talk about how you were operating, running two things at once, like you're working over here, but you're running the business over there, and it almost in that way is a hobby business until you say, right, let's give our full attention to this. And that's a big decision financially, obviously, because you have to let go of that certainty when working for someone else, and but it's really hard to build a thriving business when you have a split focus. I mean, what's your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so up until that point, it felt like, as much as we were trying to create a business, it was still a side hustle, in a sense of, like we were both working full time. We'd be both racing from work to get to the studio on time. I'd be up till 2 o'clock in the morning doing all the things admin wise. Or, like if the boss was out and I had a few hours spare on the desk, at work, I'd be doing stuff then. And yeah, I think once we sort of delved in and made it a company and said, all right, well, we've got to make, and especially after COVID as well, I feel like we'd sort of 2021, we started putting staff on, because it was just Britt and I up until that point. And then that's when we had, because I mean, at the end of the day, we had to, pay everyone's wages and all that sort of stuff. So we had to, really push forward and make it work and grow.
Step it up. How
Yeah.
big's your team now? How many people have you got on staff?
I think what did I count the other day, Britt? Because we've only just added a couple more staff, because
We're nearly at 12 now.
yeah, we're at 12. Yeah.
Wow, so it's quite a big growth since you made that decision and that flip post-COVID.
Yeah.
And what's that like? So you've gone from having a family duo to now managing team. Who out of you two really is the one that's sort of leading that team and that management of team, do you think?
I think we've split that, Britt, me on the admin side and HR side, whereas Britt is training. We're sort of really trying to hone in on that now. We're sort of, up until probably last year, we were sort of just flying by the seat of our pants, letting things, but we're sort of now putting more systems in place. We're doing training sessions, or staff development, I'd prefer to call it, every term, so that, we're making sure that our team aligns with our values and that sort of stuff. And that was something that we hired based originally on what they did in like choreography wise, initially. Now we're sort of more about Do they fit in with our values? The choreography and the teaching style will come, but if they don't fit in with our values, then, like, it's not going to work. And I felt like last year we had, the perfect team, and we've just added to that now. So I feel like it's, still working well.
Yeah, awesome. And I love that you've implemented development, like team development days. I think that's really important, especially even just for the camaraderie of the group, like coming together and actually having, moments where you're having these conversations about how to improve in the workplace, etc. Like, I just think that is such a powerful thing to do, and also keeping your team accountable. And
100%.
like you said, you've gone from this duo team to now 12 people. I mean, that's a big leap. And yeah, having system and structure in place is so important. So what do you think is your biggest goal now within the business? Do you guys talk together about those long-term goals? Like, where are you sort of heading? What's your thoughts around that?
You go, Britt.
I think we are all about the goals, and we talk a lot about it. A lot of our conversations do revolve around that, whether it be yearly goals or further into the future. The future goals we're really not set on. We're very fluid at the moment, just because we're both in different kind of stages of life. I know eventually Mum would like to be able to take a step back from the business, and not entirely, but just not be there. I mean, we're both there 6 days a week at the moment, so it is a lot. So it would be good for Mum to take a little bit of a step back, maybe in a couple of years, and then me take over more of the admin and managerial role that she does so well now. So I
And
guess
you've got your little one as well, yeah? So that's
2
another.
little boys. So that's a big one.
And they're doing classes in the studio too, aren't they?
Yeah,
Do
they
you
do.
do you teach them?
I actually do. Well, not my youngest, but my oldest, yes. He comes to work with me on a Wednesday and he loves it. Miss Mummy is what I get called in the
Oh,
classroom.
really? Miss
Hilarious.
Mummy.
Yeah,
That is so fun.
yeah, Miss Mummy.
What's that like? You've got now these three generations inside of your studio. Do
Yeah.
you, how do you switch on mum mode teacher mode? And do you have to switch that off? Like the mum mode versus the teacher mode in the classroom? What's that like?
Oh, I think I'm very blessed, and everyone likes to remind me of how blessed I am with my 2 boys. They're not the typical boys. They're actually very, very good and very, very calm for 2 and 3 year olds. But yeah, I guess there is that line, and I think the line more comes from, we've got our CCTV footage. I've got parents watching, me conduct the class. I would never want them to feel like I favor my own child, or he gets any special treatment. So I guess, yeah, I do put my teacher hat on, and he's just another student in the class.
Vice versa, though. It's interesting because I actually used to teach my daughter, but then I ended up having not to teach her. I almost felt like I started going the opposite way, where I didn't want to be perceived that I'm favoring my child. So then, yeah, I almost felt like sometimes they did deserve the medal or they did deserve the thing. And I felt like, should I, shouldn't I? What will people think? So that's an act. I actually think it can work both ways, where you can either go down the route of, potentially favoring them versus, oh, they deserve it, but I'm afraid to reward that. And so I don't know, I find that a really tricky balance.
It
Yeah.
is. In any coaching environment, my husband was coach of my son's football team, and he was always the last one to receive the Player of the Match award, because you made sure every other child got it and he would get it the last round. And it wasn't until I think his last year of rugby league, when he finally got, an award of like an overall award or something, and every single parent goes, well, it's about time, he should have got it 3 years ago, so you sometimes, I think, in your own head about that side of things, thinking that people are going to think this, when really, they probably should have got it because they deserved it.
Yeah, amazing. I love that thought process too. Sometimes we do get into our own heads. What advice would you give to family run businesses? What's your top tips, friends?
Ooh,
My top tip would probably be not to hold hold things or take them too personally. And I know that's easier said than done, but I know that, you know, if there is frustration, it's normally not with each other, it's with some outside kind of factor that's come into it. So the more that you don't take it personally, I think that the easier it is to bounce back from. But that's just me. I don't know about you, Mum.
Yeah, I think that's a good one because I am probably really bad at that, and also I think not um, taking your frustrations out on the other person. I think like that, you know, as much as they're your partner, they're not your punching bag as well. Because I do know that I can be guilty of that. Like sometimes I'll get frustrated either with a staff member or with a parent or something like that, and I'll rant at Brit about it, like because you know, like you need somebody to rant to, but sometimes that can be I'm yelling at her, not to her. Does that make sense? Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Also, again, it's natural because you feel comfortable to have that comment. Like you wouldn't normally go to another teammate or a staff member and have a rant, would you? Right.
No,
So
that's
there's
right.
that comfort factor, but then you're like, oh, you know, it could almost be churning something negative there. We have to still be mindful of those work conversations,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
right.
So that's a really interesting point. Now, recently you joined me inside of Studio Talent Collective. Now, Studio Talent Collective, everyone listening, is a talent agency where studio owners can come in under our umbrella and have their students represented within the collective. Now, what made you guys think about talent management in-house or having an in-house agency? What inspired that thought initially?
Well, I'm a long listener of your podcast, and I think I just listened to one of your podcasts about it and thought it's actually something that I was going to do independently. And I joined one of your courses that you'd done, but I never got to finish it because just things had happened that got in the way of that. And then when you reached out again, and I just thought, well, this is the time to do it. And being a mentor as opposed to the agent, like you're the agent, but us being mentors probably suited us better as a business because, you know, we just felt that we couldn't have given it the due diligence that it needed, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, so it's that plug and play. It's easy to implement. There's support
yeah,
around you. And I think that's one of the biggest things, and it's one of the reason why I created the collective because Studio Talent Collective, because a lot of studio owners do feel like you. They want the service, but it felt overwhelming. So that's why I created something where people could literally just jump into something that already existed. Like the contracts are done. We've got the photographers. We've got all of the pieces, the contacts, the networks, the auditions. It was really fun actually because I came down to your studio and we did a photo shoot. What was it like amongst your students when we implemented this in-house?
I think they were really excited by it. I mean, also very nervous because especially when they get that email come through that they've got to do an audition and it's like, oh my God, Joe sent me this. What do we need to do? And I'm like, well, read the email. But yeah, they're really excited and the potential there. And even the like even if they don't sign the job, the experience of that audition process, I think gives them life skills to go forward, even if they don't, you know, do this as a job, you know, like it gives them that interview, you know, stand on your feet sort of experience. And yeah, I think, do you agree, Britt, that the parents that
Yeah, I was even going to go like the photo shoot, like that's an experience in itself, you know, and watching the kids kind of have to get out of their comfort zone very early on and do that you could see that they were nervous, but by the end of it, they were so comfortable and you can already see the growth there and all the opportunities that have come from doing it. Like, yeah,
Yeah, you guys have had quite a few auditions roll in, which has been phenomenal. And you've only been with us a couple of months, so in a very short period of time.
yeah.
What would you say to anyone who's thinking about having an in-house talent agency or joining Studio Talent Collective? What would you say to them?
You won't regret it. Like I don't think it's an easy way, to keep your parents and your children retained, because they're getting that service easy. As far as studio ownership wise, I feel like it's such an easy thing. Like we just organized a photo shoot with you, and you've looked after and handled the rest. That we have to do a
It's
little
been
bit of
easy.
mentoring on the day, like when they get it, just to guide them on what they need to say and do and where. But that's about the extent of it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
love
been
that.
great.
Well, before we wrap up today, ladies, I love having you guys on the show. I'm actually flying to Melbourne this afternoon to meet some other studio owners that we're setting up agencies for. So I won't keep you too long, but I would love to know, and you guys can chime in independently for sure, who or what inspires you most? Britt, do you want to take it away?
Um, I guess to be honest, my students probably inspire me the most, and they, make doing this job every day absolutely worth it and keep you moving forward. So I guess I would have to put it on them, because, that's who we do it for ultimately, isn't it? Even the ones that aren't going to be professional dancers or, book those gigs, it's seeing the growth and seeing the happiness and the confidence that develops every day that really, yeah, inspires me.
What about you?
Oh, you stole my answer, Britt. Yeah, I must admit, like seeing those kids that, like are the ones that are pretty much up their parents' backside. They're that shy and, don't want to let go of the leg and all the rest of it. And to see them, how they blossom, like, and I say this to our staff, I say this to parents all the time. Yeah, we want to create great dancers, but we really want to create great human beings. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what our job is. And we do feel that it is a massive blessing that, parents choose us to be in like their children's lives every day, like, and for me, that is, that's why we do this job, you know what I mean? So,
Mm.
And it's
yeah.
a massive privilege to, we feel very blessed and very privileged to be able to give back to our local community and our dancers and their families.
Yeah, I love that. What about success? What does success look like for you?
That goalpost changes all the time. I'm not sure. Like when we were little and, like we could never crack 100 kids or anything like that. We go, if we just had 150 kids, we'd be right, and then that goalpost was met and stuff like that. So, success for us, so I've changed my mindset on that. It was always on numbers and things like that. But success is just having, a really lovely community, within our studio, and harmonious. I think, if you come into a happy and harmonious studio, like what's there not to love about coming to work every day?
Mm. Yeah, I love that. What about you, Britt?
Um, I think success just looks like just happiness. Like, I mean, that's the ultimate goal for everybody, right? It's just to be happy. So, what does that look like? It could look like anything, but right now it looks like a studio that Mum said is, cohesive and inclusive and harmonious. And that's really, yeah, that's the biggest success that we could ask for.
Yeah, awesome. So what's next for you, ladies? What's on the cards for 2025? We're early in. We're only at the very, beginning of it. So where's it going to take us?
Look, we had a massive year last year and we added so much to our plate last year. One being, our
Talent
yeah,
agency.
talent agency. And we also added our second premises, which is called House of Cirque. We also started a school this year. So we school within our studio. So I think this year is just making sure that all of our balls stay up in the air and we're juggling
And
them.
we survive.
Tell me about the school. What's that about?
So we do our distance ed learning
Mm.
through the school. So we have students that come in from 9 till 3 every day. They get their schoolwork done and then they get about an hour, 2 hours to an hour and a half of dance time every day so that they're training and getting that extra kind of, yeah, a little bit of extra training in there. Um, I know a lot of like elite studios in Sydney do it. That's not why we do it. We were finding a lot of our kids were struggling in school, and not academic wise, just socially, they were really struggling, and we had a big call for it. So we
Wow.
we
What was the
started.
take up like on your very first round? How is that going? I imagine it would be small to start,
Oh,
as most in school type of scenarios are at studios.
yeah, it was really small. We currently only have 3 students enrolled. We've only been operating like this year. So yeah, it's very small, but so far we're seeing really great results and getting really great feedback, not only from our students, but from their parents and their carers. We're seeing great results, not only academically, but also just for their social and emotional well-being.
Is this an alternative to homeschooling, do you think? Or
Absolutely. Like I said, like they're getting the extra training and they love it and they are seeing improvement, but mostly it's, for those kids that didn't feel safe at school or were just struggling to
Well,
fit
that's,
that box.
that square peg that doesn't fit in the round hole type student as well. Like I feel that they can learn at their capacity and not have to be, like learn in that traditional sense.
Interesting. So who sets the curriculum, like as in maths, English stuff? Like who sets that?
So we currently have our 3 students enrolled through a company called the Australian Christian College. So they set all of their work. They have teachers online. They log in every day to like an online classroom, and they have access to teachers whenever they need them. And basically we have a facilitator who sits in here and supervises and steps in when we need to keep them on task, or if they just need some really quick, easy help. And that's been working really, really well.
Okay, awesome. Are you looking to expand that this year and get the word out a little bit more about that program and offer?
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit thankful we only have a little intake right now because it is a lot of work to start up. But I think once we settle, I'd love to be able to offer that to a few more kids, especially, those kids, like I said, those kids that are struggling, that's like our biggest kind of thing is just their social and emotional well-being, and would love to be able to offer that service to them.
That's very interesting.
Mhm.
So this year is all about just keeping things rolling and nurturing what you've already started last year, because you'd started quite a bit. Second location, you've got you've got the agency, you've got the now in-house school. That's huge. That was a big 2024.
It was massive. It was massive. It was massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations, ladies. And, I loved hearing about how you two manage a family-run studio. I think that's a really interesting story, but also one that will help inspire others. So thanks, ladies, for being on the show. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Bye. This episode is brought to you by Studio Talent Collective, helping you go from studio owner to talent manager with confidence. Ready to start your own in-house talent agency? Connect with me at josephinelancuba.com or via the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, and review. Thanks for listening and keep shining.